Welcome to episode number 55 of the Barbell Lifestyle Podcast, another short episode from Marissa here to give you the one trick that you need to solve your weight loss problem. It's probably not going to be the answer that you want, but I'm going to break it down for you from top to bottom in this short episode so you can get started on actually making progress towards your goals. As always, if you like the podcast and you want to support it, all we ask is that you share this episode with a friend, family member, or coworker who would benefit from it. One share can go a really long way and supports our mission to help as many people as possible to live a healthier, sustainable lifestyle. Finally, we would love you even more than we already do if you took the time to leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Ratings and reviews are how this podcast moves up the ranks and becomes accessible to even more people. And just a reminder as well, for the month of December, we are running a giveaway for those of you who want to submit a 5-star rating and review for the podcast. So all you have to do to enter this giveaway, which by the way is going to be epic, we're going to be giving away Barbell Lifestyle Podcast apparel that will be launching January 1st, as well as giving away hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards to your favorite stores online, such as Core Nutritionals, Lululemon, Target, anything like that. And we're going to be giving away that to 2 winners who submit ratings and reviews for the podcast. So you do have a really good chance of winning this giveaway. So as the clock ticks towards the end of the year, make sure to get that screenshotted and sent to the Barbell Lifestyle Podcast on Instagram, and you'll be entered to win. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode number 55, the one trick to solve your weight loss problem. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Barbell Lifestyle Podcast. So it is Marissa here with another short episode, and today I am going to be giving away the one thing that I think is holding a lot of people back from actually making any progress, lasting progress towards their goals. And it's probably not going to be the one answer that you want. It's not going to be cut carbs, cut sugar, stop drinking alcohol. It's not going to be those things. So the one trick that I think that is going to solve a lot of people's weight loss problem is changing the frame of mind that one thing will solve the problem. Now, I know that is not the answer that you wanted, and I'm telling you up front here, it is a more nuanced and intricate journey than that, but making that one mindset shift can be the game changer from you being frustrated, doing the same things over and over and over again, trying kind of different variations of the same shit over and over, to actually being able to open your mind to new things, try the right things, and see measurable progress. And, this episode was inspired by a conversation that I was having with someone that's very, very close to me. I would even say, like family. And I think the person that I was talking to, they were so frustrated. They've been dealing with this problem for 6-7 years now. And the only thing that they've tried is the same thing over and over again, is trying to cut carbs. Just trying to cut carbs, sugar, bread, fruit. But the problem was, and what I kept observing in this person, was they only cut certain types of carbs because they didn't have a fuller understanding of what actually has carbs in it and what actually is in the rest of their food. And so without that full understanding, they couldn't make educated choices that allowed them to actually be successful. Because here's the thing, if you, if you intelligently reduce carb intake overall calorie intake, to see weight loss, it will work. But that informed choice has to be there, and understanding how many of which kinds of carbs, how much of a portion of something overall should you be having. And so what I really want to help you understand here today is that it's not going to be one fix or change that is going to solve your problem, but it's going to be a fuller understanding of the nuances and the information that's going to give you the power to make informed choices and actually be able to make measurable change. So the one trick that's going to solve your weight loss problem is taking the time to learn the nuances and to be a sponge and to soak up information. And this is what we do, Christina and I both with our clients, is it's not just here, do these things, follow this program or this list and you'll see results, but it's let's actually learn this stuff and go through the learning curve that it's going to bring you on. So let's talk about what nuances are we actually looking at, thinking about, that are going to help us move forward. So the first one is going to be when people are often starting a weight loss journey or fat loss or muscle gain or whatever it is, they tend to just look at one macronutrient. So, the example that I gave previously was just looking at carbs, just looking at fat, maybe just looking at protein. Now, this one is going to probably do the least harm, but, a lot of times we look at just carbs, right? I just want to cut out carbs, just want to cut out sugar, right? But what does that actually mean? We all have a different perception of what sugar is. Some people think that sugar is just in liquid beverages. Some people think that sugar is just in fruit. Some people think that sugar is baked goods, which that is a lot of carbs and fat. And some people think that, bread is bad for you, but they neglect to look at the Coke that they're having, the Dr. Pepper, right? So we have all of these kind of cognitive biases that allow us to have dissonance between one thing or the other, right? It's like I might be eating fruit saying I'm cutting out sugar, but I might be, not having the chocolate chip cookie, or I might be eating lots of bread, but I might not be, looking at my beverage consumption, right? And so if we just look at one thing, we're leaving out so much of the rest of the picture. And here's the other thing too, is like, okay, maybe I am cutting out all carbs, right? Maybe I'm not eating a single one and I'm following a more ketogenic lifestyle. But what if I am not watching my portions with my fats and my protein? I could still be in a calorie surplus or at maintenance, and I might not be able to see results that way, right? So it's really, really interesting to see where people kind of put these mental blocks up and they only look at one thing at a time, when really what we need to do is look at the whole picture. So, for example, if someone's just watching fat intake, they might, not be looking at carbs, might not be looking at protein. And oftentimes protein intake, here's why I said it's going to do less harm than the others. Protein intake is the number one factor, aside from calorie balance, that is going to drive body composition change. So when I say weight loss, that could be water loss, that could be muscle, that could be fat. When we say fat loss, then we're looking at just body fat being lost. Protein intake is the number one driver in this change, in you being able to lose body fat. And so if we're just looking at protein intake, trying to increase that, that is going to by default do a couple of things. It's going to help us overall regulate our appetite better, because protein has the highest satiety index of all macronutrients. So meaning it's going to keep you fuller for longer. And that is what protein does. So by default, if you eat more protein, it's going to be harder for you to eat a ton of carbs and fat, just if you're intuitively listening to your body's signals. Another thing that protein is going to do for you is it's going to spare muscle, meaning it's going to make sure that if you are losing weight, it is most likely going to be coming from either water or body fat rather than losing muscle. And this is important, and we want to lose fat rather than muscle, because if we lose our muscle, our metabolism is going to slow down. And this is how crash dieting works. People lose weight, they lose water, they lose muscle, they lose fat, and their metabolism slows down, and it puts them in a position to rebound and gain the weight back, right? So that's why looking at protein is going to be so, so helpful. So we do want to make sure that we're paying attention to all three of those things. And so if you're just looking at one, obviously you're going to learn some stuff from that, right? The conversation that I was having before with that individual, they know a lot about, what has sugar, what doesn't have sugar, what has a higher glycemic index versus a lower. A lot of times people who struggle with diabetes or prediabetes are very keenly paying attention to these things, but neglecting to look at others. So it's a start. It'll teach you some stuff, but it's going to leave you with blind spots if you're not looking at the full picture. So then the next thing that we need to understand, once we've looked at carbs, fat, and protein, a lot of times the mistake that people make is they say, okay, well, now I know what my macro targets are, right? My carbs, my fat, my protein that I should hit to see the results that I want to see. So now I just have to hit these all the time and I will be good. But the problem is now we're not understanding context. And how do I actually do that? How do I actually execute on my goals in different contexts? And the problem that a lot of people see is they have no trouble maintaining a healthy routine and hitting their targets on Monday through Thursday, for example. But what happens when go out to lunch after church on Sunday? What happens when what happens when you go out to dinner on Friday night for date night? What happens when you go out on Saturday for lunch? All these different contexts. What about the family potluck? What about when you go have ethnic food, right? What are these other contexts going to teach us? So we have to be able to understand how to also adjust to hit those targets in different contexts to be successful no matter where we are. Again, this is something Christina and I firmly stress with our clients because, again, a lot of people can hermit up and eat from home 7 days per week and see results for a month and be done, right? But what does that teach you? It only teaches you that you can see results if you eliminate everything, every extraneous factor that could throw you off track. Is that sustainable? No one's going to eat from home for all meals all the time, right? And so we have to be able to be flexible and learn these things. So, it's important that we understand that, okay, maybe when I am eating at home, eating with my routine, that I need to make sure I eat enough, right? I need to make sure I don't undereat. But then what about when we're eating out? Maybe in those situations, I need to keep it lighter, starting out in the day. And then I need to adjust, and make sure that I have room with my carbs, my fat when I'm going out to eat, because restaurants cook with a lot of oil, with a lot of butter. So it's really about understanding context and how, when your situation changes, how do you adapt with your portion sizes, with your knowledge, with the types of foods that you choose and don't choose? How do you order at restaurants? What sorts of small choices, trades, tricks are you using in different circumstances to stay consistent with the overarching goal? Now, this is where another thing that's important when it comes to solving this problem is that having all of your efforts go in one direction is the most important thing. So a lot of times when I talk to potential clients, when I'm on, discovery calls with people, I'm asking, what have you tried? What sorts of things are frustrating you? What are you lost on, right? And most of the time I hear kind of the same things over and over again. It's, well, I eat healthy, I work out, I'm just not seeing results, right? Or I'm just not consistent. I feel like it's consistency. It's absolutely consistency. But a lot of times it's like these people are taking shots in the dark. It's like, what does eating healthy mean to you? Oh, I don't know, more fruits, more vegetables. Do you have any sort of like guidelines? Do you have any sort of plan? Is there anything that you're measuring to see the progress? Or are you just kind of stabbing at it and saying, I hope that making one of these changes will work? We don't do this with a lot of other things. We always like to have calculated plans and blueprints and things to make sure that we can actually see measurable change moving forward. Think about a work project. Think about those timelines and those plans. Those are all detailed, right? What makes our fitness journey any different? But for some reason, we just take stabs in the dark and randomly try to put efforts forth without any sort of rhyme or reason, and we expect it to make change. I mean, if you're lucky, but the chances of that are slim. And that's why so many people are frustrated and are wondering why they can't see results. So this is why we need to not only understand context, not only learn the nuances, understand the full picture of what we're putting into our body, but then with the effort that we are using to actually make changes, change our habits, adjust what we're eating. It can't just be random. It can't just be, oh, I'm going to try to do this, or I'm going to try to do this. Everything needs to be organized and put in towards the right direction. So oftentimes what I see is just a scattered array of different efforts and different things. What we need to do is just narrow that and actually focus everything in one direction. What is the overarching plan, making sure every single step along the way with that plan is helping you in that one direction. And so for a lot of people, that kind of plan looks like making sure that we are consistently in a calorie deficit over time and eating the right macronutrient ratios. That's most people, right? It's like we need to be consistent with a few things: working out, eating right, hydrating, sleeping well, and moving our bodies. Easy enough. We all know that those are the right things to do, but how much of each? At what times of day? What types of workouts? What kinds of adjustments to our diet? Those are the things that need to be guided and calculated for us to actually see results. And then finally, we want to make sure that we understand, how things need to change depending on our activity, our workout, our lifestyle. The person that sits at a desk 8 hours a day is going to be a lot different in their needs that is, on their feet doing construction work all day, right? And even if these people are two people are genetically identical, they're going to need different types of nutrition based on that, right? So I think a lot of times we kind of oversimplify. We say it's just this one thing, it's just this one change I need to make. And yes, it's important that we make one change at a time, but it's never just one thing. It's really understanding the full picture. Again, when things change, different contexts, eating out, eating in, working out, not working out, how does that change things for you? And so you might understand that if you do a 5-hour hike one day and you're really hungry, you're probably okay to eat a couple more carbs or calories, right? Because your body needs that fuel. But if you don't understand that and everything is black and white, you might end up putting yourself in a position to self-sabotage because you say, well, I have to hit these targets after this 5-hour hike, even though I'm starving. And that might put you into a cycle of self-sabotage. So there's a lot of different kind of things to look at, nuances that are important when we're looking at context and understanding how do we actually solve this problem and understand it so that we can keep it solved for the long term. Final thing that I want to talk about, I know the last thing I said was the final thing, but this is the final thing I want to talk about, is understanding consistency, like I said. So, we always say nothing's going to happen in a day. I didn't gain all this weight overnight. I didn't, have this problem overnight. But really, when we are acting on our problems and we're trying to work on things, it's like we go to the gym once and we say, oh, well, why am I not skinny yet? Right? And so we have to understand that nothing's going to happen in a day. And I like to use the analogy of a clogged pipe, right? And so maybe it's clogged up with something, a bunch of different particles of stuff, dirt, maybe, and water's trying to flow through that pipe, but it's stuck. So nothing's flowing through, and it's just building up and it's getting more and more stuff. So how did that get built up in the first place? Particle by particle. Same thing, you didn't gain this weight overnight, but you stored a little bit of fat at a time. And, choice by choice, day by day, week by week, eventually that weight piled on, probably over the course of the past, decade, right? Same thing with the clogged pipe. The pipe didn't clog overnight. It was, the flow was steady, and then over time it dwindled until now it's totally closed off. Now, when it comes to unclogging that pipe, our consistency with our nutrition, our fitness, it's like we expect some, magic solution to come through the pipe and just clean it all together and destroy all of the particles at once. That's not how it works. We're going to have to literally pick out particle by particle, piece by piece, and eventually that pipe is going to unclog. But first, the progress is going to be slow, really slow. Just a couple drops of water are going to get through. But then, as we alleviate the pressure of more and more and more particles, pieces of dirt, then eventually that water is going to flow a little bit faster and it's going to get a little bit easier and things are going to move a little bit quicker. But it's not without that initial resistance and pressure and, the hard learning curve that a lot of this stuff takes, that a lot of people are just not willing to do, and it's hard because every fitness coach online that's trying to sell you is trying to tell you it's going to be easy. You're not going to have to try. You're not going to have to put an effort. And that's what we're attracted to. But I encourage you to, not fall for that narrative. And, yes, some methods are going to be easier than others. Some methods are going to fit into your life easier than others. The method that Christina and I preach on this podcast is everything that you do should be flexible, should allow you to eat out, should allow you to be social, should allow you to have those things. But that doesn't mean it's not hard. That doesn't mean that it doesn't require knowledge and time and sacrifice and effort. And that's not to say that you should give up on it altogether, because it's going to be hard, because it's going to be worth it. Anything that is worthwhile is going to take effort and it's going to be hard. So I encourage you to unclog that pipe one piece at a time. I encourage you to understand that yes, you can be flexible, and yes, you can have the freedoms within your diet, within your fitness journey, but also to understand that to be consistent, there are going to be hard days where you have to say no to things that you really don't want to say no to. And there's going to be days that are going to be a lot easier where you say, wow, that was a breeze. And it isn't going to be a black and white one trick. So, I think this really went in a good direction that I was hoping it would. But I hope from this episode, if you're someone who's been stuck for a while, reach out to us at the podcast, Christina or myself, on Instagram. You can reach me at Marissa Roy Fitness. You can reach Christina at Christy Lynn Fit. You can find us at Barbell Lifestyle Podcast on the gram as well. And please reach out to us if this is something that you struggle with, because oftentimes it's like, what do I need to do? Do I need to do HIIT workouts? Do I need to cut carbs? Do I need to do this one thing? There's no one thing, and that is the tip or trick and the switch in your mindset. If you can flip that switch and say, it's not one thing, and I need to be open to learning, and I need to be ready to actually embrace this change, then you will be successful and you will see results. But it's not until you can make that mindset shift that these things are going to start to happen for you. And nothing is going to happen for you without you putting the effort first and foremost. So I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode. I hope you got tons and tons of value from it if this is something you've been stuck with. And hopefully, this helps kickstart the change that's gonna make this habit last for a lifetime, to make this fitness lifestyle last for a lifetime. So if you have any questions, again, reach out to us at the podcast. Find us on Instagram. And I don't really know how to close out these episodes still. That's Christina's job. But I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for listening. And we hope to see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening to the Barbell Lifestyle Podcast, and we hope you enjoyed this episode and learned something from it. Please remember that Christina and I are not medical professionals, so if you're going to make any changes to your exercise or nutrition routines, please consult with your doctor or medical team first. Finally, we would love you even more than we already do if you took the time to leave us a rating and review on iTunes. Ratings and reviews are how this podcast moves up the ranks and becomes accessible to even more people. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next Tuesday here at the Barbell Lifestyle Podcast.